Welcome to Hope County Radio. You'll stop for Far Cry 5 news, tips and tricks, and the always changing Far Cry Arcade. Here are your hosts, Nick and Nate. Take it off whenever you're ready.
Ooh, take what off?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Hey everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Hope County Radio, a Far Cry podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nate, and with me as always is...
Nick!
So how's it going, Nick? How you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. Just, antsy. At the time of the recording, the first half of this, we're still waiting for Far Cry to come out, so I'm very antsy.
Yeah, well, by the time this releases, the game should be out, so... We'll definitely find out some more first impressions later on in the show, but I'm with you. I mean, at least you've got yours digitally. You can play it at 10 tonight. I still have to wait for my copy to come in. So you're the lucky one.
Right.
Well, if you guys are just now tuning in to Hope County Radio, we are a Far Cry podcast. Mostly we're going to be talking about Far Cry 5 and Far Cry Arcade because those are going to be the most relevant things, but from time to time we'll talk about other entries in the series. We did that last episode, kind of compared the previous ones to the one that's coming out. So, I guess to go ahead and get started off in the show, let's go ahead and get to our grinding.
Yeah, and if you guys want to get a hold of us, make sure you can go to our Twitter at Hope County Radio, and there, pinned to the top, is our Discord, so you can join us on Discord. If you don't have a Twitter, we also put the Discord in the comments, or in the description of the podcast, so you can look at there, copy, paste, and everything. We are also going to have some gameplay up. Our gameplay is going to be, once a week at least. And we're also going to have a tutorial for the map editor.
I'm really excited to see that. You told me about that yesterday, and I was like, ooh, that sounds fun. That sounds like it's going to be some really good content. Not just saying it because it's going to be ours, but,
But it helps.
Yeah, it does help. Is that it for grinding? Is there anything else we need to cover?
Yeah, just come watch all our stuff on YouTube. It's ThreatX3 Productions, and so you can see all our videos there. As far as the Hope County podcast, you might be watching us now. Woo! Hope County podcast will be uploaded on there. Plus, as a separate video, we might have our top 10, as a separate video if that's all you want to watch. And that's where we'll have our gameplay and our tutorials. So ThreatX3 Productions on our hold on on our YouTube, and that's also how you can get a hold of us. If you want to go to our website at threatx3productions.com, you can go to our Hope County discussion there. You can give us links or description of your map so we can play it on Arcade Archive, or you can give us questions or anything, so give us a topic to talk about on the show. You can do that as well at Hope County Radio on our ThreatX3Productions.com.
/ we roll. That's a Sex Drive reference, if anybody's never seen that movie. Yeah, all right, let's go ahead and get onto our Far Cry newsletter for this week. So, Nick, you were telling me about a couple Twitter accounts related to the game.
Yeah, you got the Far Cry Twitter account, and Ubisoft. You can obviously go to their Twitter account. But actually, what I ended up doing is I ended up following Greg Burke, and that's GregBryk. Excuse me, at Greg Burke. He's the voice actor of the main villain, and so he's been putting out a lot of stuff, and so I started following him, show him some love. So if you guys want to do the same, it's at Greg Burke, and he throws up a bunch of stuff and interviews, and obviously it's probably all planned and everything, but still he throws up some stuff. I like him so far as what he's been throwing up.
Well, that's good. And yeah, we're recording this the Monday before release, so it's the 26th. I was looking today. There's already been some reviews that have been posted, some reviews in progress, primarily.
Right.
So far, the game is getting really good reception. There's only one news outlet that I've seen that hasn't been very welcoming. But
Jackasses.
Even then, they love the gameplay. Like one of the highlights for them was the gameplay. So I'll just go ahead and go through a couple right now. IGN's got it at an 8.9. Now they did say that when they play more of arcade and some more of the multiplayer, that review may change. But as of right now, just for what they played, they have it at 8.9. So that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
GameSpot's got it sitting at a 9 out of 10. They've got high remarks for it as well. Probably the highest I've seen as far as like rankings and reviews go. Polygon, the one that I was talking about, has got a ranking at 6.5.
Boo. Out of 7.
And then it's sitting at about an 81 on Metacritic. So overall, really good. I would say, I wouldn't say that they're average. I would say they'd be higher, because average to me is sitting about in the 70s. So I mean, it's making me frustrated because I just really want to play it. And
yeah, I mean, Metacritic's a good source, kind of like Rotten Tomatoes, even though obviously there's a whole discussion we can have about that.
We
but
already
81
have.
on yes, 81 is a good average. Considering that 8 is a really good game. And I kind of expected that. Because there's going to be places like Polygon, which can be very kind of liberal and very. I mean, I don't want to mouth off too much, but sometimes they have an agenda, and so they might have been a little bit more harsh on it because it's like, this is America and stuff like that, and so they might have been looking too much at things that they're being triggered over rather than. Is it a good game? Does it have good themes in it?
Yeah, it's one of those that for some of these sites that from the beginning haven't been really showing much love for it or criticizing it, the odds are they're not going to give it a great review. And I remember that being the case in Polygon's case, for ever since the announcement, them to be really harsh on it. WoW in this political climate kind of thing. But like we talked about last episode, I don't really care about any of this stuff, especially a Far Cry game. It's the setting makes me want to play this game more. But also in terms of reviews and stuff, I know that 4 and Primal weren't reviewed. I mean, they were like, oh, this is a good game, but I mean, they weren't like critically like, oh my god. And I still enjoyed them. Now I have the same opinions a lot of people have about 4. That it's just basically a reskin of 3. But even still, I enjoyed it. And like I said to a message to somebody, although I've almost platinumed 4 and I'm almost 100% through it, it still was just kind of like, this is just kind of meh, like the story and stuff. The gameplay's still always fun.
And I think there's always something to be said about, it might have just felt like another 3, but there is something to be said about being able to put out one game after another and the consistency of how good it is and how well it plays. There is something to be said as far as being consistent, because there's definitely plenty of people out there that when the next one comes out, they want it to be, just so much better than the original. Even if we look at like movies, it's like, well, this is the second movie, so it has to be better. And so when that movie or game ends up being just as good as the original, people kind of use that as a negative, and it's like, but why? Why is that a negative? It's just as good. They're making another one. They're giving you more of what you like. At least that's just my thing. One thing I did want to point out, GameSpot put out this whole thing, and they had a couple of their guys talking about very like, oh my god, look at what they're doing here. That feels really weird because it's in America. And like they even said, like, there's this one guy who wants you to put out flyers, and so he said something like, those Obama loving libtards. And so they said how, like, that's weird, I don't like that, and they were very like, oh my god, I'm offended. But GameSpot is the one that gave him the highest score out of the the ones we were reading off.
Yeah. It's one of those, especially with a lot of gaming publications. You can't really focus on the politics of games. You got to focus on the games themselves. Unless they do something completely egregious. That shouldn't be the main focus. Whereas, and not to harp on Polygon, because I really honestly just don't pay attention to their content too much. I do when it is like, hey, you got to check out this article. But everything I've seen of Polygon looks like, as far as game coverage goes, looks like they lean more on the politics in the actual game itself. Now that might not be an accurate statement, because again, I don't read a whole lot of Polygon, but everything that I've seen has indicated that thought to me.
Yeah, and I think it is really important to try to put your own bias aside when you're trying to review something, because when you let that get in the way, it doesn't seem like it's fair. As far as, and I don't know, we could talk all day about fair, but in that particular case, I don't think it's particularly fair to review something based on something else. It's like reviewing a first-person shooter, but constantly comparing it to like Call of Duty, but like in a really negative way. It's like you gotta separate one from the other. Now, obviously, if you're just using it as a comparison, it's like, oh, the Call of Duty does it better. But then you're putting yourself in that mindset of talking about something too much.
I definitely agree. Last thing on the newsletter for this week, a surprise release to me. You were the one that told me about it. Amazon Prime did a Prime free video. It's like 30 minutes long. Live action called Far Cry Inside Eden's Gate. Now, just from you sending this to me, it reminded me a lot of the publicity they were doing for Far Cry 3 when it came out with McLovin.
Right.
When you had Voss capturing him. Did you feel like it had that same kind of vibe as far as this is the kind of content we're making? Or where do you think Amazon's head were at with this piece of content?
Well, I think Amazon was just the ones who acquired it, So
yes, thank you for correcting me.
They were the ones who were allowed to distribute it. But it was just a nice little. I think it might have been closer to like 25 minutes, so not quite 30 minutes, but it was just a little short film. Basically, it had the Greg Burke or Brick. Greg Brick or something. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. But
it's spelled very weird.
It had him as his character in Far Cry, but obviously it's all in live action. But he still has the same hairstyle and the beard and everything. But yeah, it was just a nice little prequel kind of.
Yeah, something to get you inside the story, which I think is really cool because. It's funny, I argue about this in some cases, but in this instance, it's cool to produce a extra piece of content outside of the game that, that's on a live action video platform.
I think the best thing about it is that it's not like required reading. There's plenty of other things where it's like, I guess the best example would be Final Fantasy 15, where you're missing chunks of the actual story if you don't watch the anime and the movie. Yeah. Whereas this, it's really just a group of people that have absolutely nothing to do with the game, and if they would have never made it, it necessarily wouldn't have added or subtracted from the game, and I think that's the important part.
Yeah, agreed. It's nice to have content that, like you said, isn't either additive or subtractive to the situation. Because, like I remember when Halo 5 was coming out, a lot of people were curious about, because the whole the whole team situation where you had Buck and the other people on what was the Spartan Locke's team? You had Spartan Locke's team. And then on Master Chief's team, you had Blue Team. And for a lot of people that were like, I don't know who Blue Team is, that a lot of people's response was, oh, they're in the books. You can read the books. You can read like Fall of Reach. And it's like I don't like when that's a thing. I don't like when I have to watch something else to understand this thing better.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the main thing. I mean, obviously, there's probably going to be some Easter eggs, or there might be some mention of what happened here, but it doesn't play an integral part. It could literally be one line in the finished game, and I'll let you know during my impressions if there is a line. But there might be one line that references it, but it's not so ungodly determinant on watching it. And I mean, it's just nice. If anything, it sets the tone. It sets the groundwork for what you're going to be playing, and it just kind of gives you just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit.
Now, what do you think you would have done differently, or would you have done anything differently with this piece of content?
Well, to be perfectly honest, it starts off like a vlog. Basically, the people who are, stuck in this situation, they're part of a blog, and so they're kind of, I don't know, they're kind of like Scooby-Doo in a way, where they go and they investigate certain things, and so I guess that's their vlog. And so they got a bunch of messages from somebody to check out Hope County, and so they go to Hope County. And so that's the beginning of the the beginning of the movie is them like, hey, everybody, how's it going? This is your guys, blah, blah, and Kaylee and something, and we're going to Hope County. We got some news that blah, 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 so it's set up like a vlog. Basically, like, he's holding it. You can tell he's holding out the camera in front of him and everything. And so it shows certain shots of him holding the camera out in front of him. And then other shots of him, you could see him holding the camera. Like, so it's set up like a real movie, basically with multiple cameras. But actually, I think in this particular situation, the way they set it up, I think it would have done better if they did it as a blog. If they did it as
kind of like the short videos from 3. If they actually did it, if they actually like, what's the word I'm looking for? If they actually marketed their blog, their fake blog that had the videos on there. I can see what you mean. I can see what you mean there. Yeah. Now, when you're talking about when you're talking
go
about
ahead. Sorry.
When you're talking about the intro, is it kind of similar to the intro to Far Cry 3? Like the opening cinematic?
Oh, yeah, I guess in a way, yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's just him. They're setting up their vlog, so it's just like, a vlog that you would see on YouTube or something like that. Like, oh yeah, it's your boy Logan Paul. That's all I hear. But yeah, I feel like this would have been one of the very few instances where I feel like found footage actually would have added to it rather than subtracted, because they have multiple camera angles and they have like, it's a short film, but it still has like a scene in there that I just felt like we didn't really need to see that, other than they're torturing this girl, or not really torturing, but it's high tension because they're like, they're trying to get her to like take this drug or something, which I'm assuming is going to make her complacent or something like that.
Yeah. There's a thing I know in the game there's a drug that's popular in there. So. Exactly.
So the tension is very high, and it's one of those situations where it's like you get a really good idea of the villain's like persona and everything, but at the same time it wasn't necessarily needed. So if they would have done it in a found footage way, as long as they did it smartly, I feel like it might have been a lot better that way.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well,
which I would not say that about most movies.
Yeah, found footage is really hit or miss, kind of.
Right. And I think maybe that's part of the reason.
Yeah. But like the most recent one for me, my wife and I watched Cloverfield, and I enjoyed Cloverfield. I really did, but I really felt like a lot like she got motion sick after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I that's partially why I think 10 Cloverfield Lane is a better movie, but also, that's kind of quite a tangent, but yeah, it really is hit or miss. So it's one of those that I feel like in a small situation like this, it could have been a hit, but yeah. So,
but the good news is you don't absolutely need it to enjoy the game, and so it's really, like I said, it's a tone piece. It's a prologue. That's really all it is. You're not going to be confused as soon as you start up the game, and that's the most important part to really dive in. So if you guys want to watch it, go if you Google it. I mean, don't let them know I told you this, but if you Google it, you can find a copy of it, or you can do it like a nice law-abiding citizen and go to Amazon Prime and look up Far Cry Inside Eden's Gate.
Ubisoft would probably recommend that. They'd probably like
definitely.
that. So, all right, let's go ahead and get to this week's Hope County update. To start it off, we found an article saying that what was it? Five tips to start Far Cry off with a bang. Was that what it was?
Yep.
So, why don't you go ahead and tell us some of those tips so we can all be pros right when we start?
All right. So this comes right straight from the horse's mouth from FarCry5.com. Side quests are the best way to earn extra money.
That kind of sounds like I'm going to do this a lot, I feel like, with this show. I'm going to compare it to Assassin's Creed, but they're both Ubisoft properties, so that's fine. That sounds very much to me like Origins. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that with the main story missions, as impactful as they are, I'm getting a lot more fleshed out stories in the side quest, and I'm getting more rewarded for doing the side quests. Like, the main missions do a lot of XP, but it's almost like, oh, go to this boss, here's that, and then a cutscene. And then the side quests are very fleshed out, so they may be taking a page out of the same book and having it to where most of your story is going to be told with these side quests, talking to these different people who live in Hope County. So that would be really cool. So number 2, find guns for hire that fit with your playstyle as early as possible. And I think we touched on this a little bit last week. I guess we kind of went through the ones that we would do. It says comrades are always welcome in Hope County, especially at the beginning of the game. Now they give you a few to go through. I didn't know this was the dog's name. I just knew it as Fangs for Hire. That's interesting.
Peaches?
So the 3 options you have are Peaches, the Fangs for Hire. This beautiful feline will gleefully tear apart and feast on any cultist unlucky enough to disturb her mid-afternoon.
Oh, I think that's the cougar. Because it's a feline.
Maybe.
Peaches.
I did see
mid-afternoon catnip.
I did see that in the gameplay. You can also tame other animals. Like there's a video going around of they tamed this bear that had a collar on, and so you can I guess
that's Cheeseburger.
Yeah, that's Cheeseburger. Yeah. So that's cool. I guess Fangs for Hire extends to other animals you can tame, kind of like in Primal.
Sweet.
You also got Grace, who's the sniper. Now, like I told you, I probably won't use Grace because I like to do a lot of the killing myself, and she is very efficient.
Well, I do believe there's a button prompt that you can be like, take out this person, and then take out this person, and then, at least from some gameplay I've seen, and obviously we'll go into impressions and everything later.
Yeah, that might be because I kind of like the fact of having an Overwatch in case something happens, instead of having like I think the main thing for the dog and or Peaches is that they are marked, that they can mark enemies. So that's something we'll have to see.
I got a good question for you. Do you think there's going to be millions of them?
Millions of what?
Peaches.
Millions of peaches. Peaches for me. I will admit that one caught me completely off guard. All right, so the last guns for hire you're going to be able to have is Nick Rye. Now, Nick is this is the gun for hire for your high chaos gameplays and things like that. He's going to be your crop duster bomber plane dude, and I think he has a thing with ammo too, like an explosives expert. I'm not sure, but for me, and we've already talked about this, I'll either use the animals or Grace just because I like the challenge of sneaking in, not getting caught, and like I like the idea of doing high chaos with like me and you doing like a fun game, like co-op game. But for my personal one, I always go stealth.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think one of the reviews I watched about it was saying if you want to go stealthy, make sure to unequip Nick if you don't want there to be a sudden carpet bomb.
Because I'm the type, if that happens, like if I get caught, then I'll just have somebody kill me and I'll restart it all over. I want to beat it stealth, like undetected.
Mm-hmm. Then we have number 3, activate the following perks as fast as possible. So these are the first perks you're going to want to activate, and I 100% agree. You got parachute, so obviously if you drop out of a freaking helicopter, you don't have a parachute. That would suck. So parachute, grapple. This is good because there's plenty of grapple areas around so you can climb. Harvest Master, this one's super important. Unlike other Far Cries, you're not harvesting animals in order to get like a different tool belt, which will let you have more guns, or you're getting a wallet which will help you hold more money. So it's not like that. So the animals themselves are merely just so you can take them to the trader and get money for them. So the Harvest Master lets you get double the loot. So you get double the skins, double the pelts and everything, and then you can turn that in for money, which is going to be freaking huge. Leadership. Do you know what is better than a gun for hire? Two. Exactly. So now you can have 2 people. This is going to be really cool because then maybe you could have Grace up in a water tower ready to snipe, and then you have your dog pointing out everybody for you, and then go in like that. The combinations that you could have, I think, are going to be really cool. Finding a combo between 2 people that maybe even the developers didn't really think of. I think that's going to be really fun to kind of like break the system.
Yeah, I did hear somebody talk about today that there are some changes. I can't remember if it was for weapons or for the crafting stuff, but some of that has been switched to their new skill point system. So so make sure to watch out for that if you're looking to get that's not the right word I'm looking for. Looking to get an equipment thing that may be under the skill and perk tree now. So watch out for that. The 4th one is check the Ubisoft Club and unlock useful items right at the start of the campaign. Now, as much as I don't use Ubisoft Club, I only use it when I play a Ubisoft game because they really do give cool rewards for certain things. Like the most recent one I'm playing right now is Assassin's Creed Origins, and if you go to the thing you can do redeemable items, like you can get skins and stuff like that. It's either one time or more, but they also have those cool costumes they always have in Assassin's Creed games, the ones from the suits from previous games. For Far Cry 5 in particular, it says, even before you start playing, check the Ubisoft Club rewards section for unlockable items. You can use the club units earned in previous Ubisoft games to purchase some very useful items for your single-player campaign in Far Cry 5, and they will be immediately available. You can also be like me and just don't ever spend those points for stuff you win in Ubisoft games and have like 600 points right now. It's ridiculous. I feel like the dude from episode 2 of Black Mirror, the 15 million merits. If you've seen that, you get that reference. Yeah. Because I just buy anything I want, and I'm like, oh, I still have credits. That's fine.
Yeah. And I mean, you do get to purchase the powerful MP5K, so it'll give you a really good SMG right at the beginning.
If that's a silenced SMG, like the classic one from Call of Duty 4, that's going to be my primary for I don't know how long. I love that gun. You can also get some deadly materials. You can start messing with the cultists and things like that. And then it says, don't forget to unlock the Hope County baseball muscle car. So,
yeah. Number 5, use your world map to keep track of what is missing. What is missing? If you are having a hard time finding new side quests to earn extra money, or if you want to know an extra location for gun for hire, to fit your playstyle, we have great news. You can access the complete in-game map using World Map website by clicking here. So I think what that means is that they have all the icons unlocked. In a normal play session, what you're supposed to do is either somebody talks about it and the icon will show up for you, or you have to physically look at it for the icon to show up on your map. So it looks like they have the map with all the icons on their website. So I'd either do it like on your phone and maybe you can just have that at your side while you're playing, or if you just want to discover things as they go, which is how they made the game, I'd suggest maybe just, not doing that.
Yeah. Honestly, though, the way it's kind of worded on here makes it almost sound like there's not a world map in the game, which I know is not true, but...
Well, they do, but they don't have a mini map. Now you just have the compass, so I think maybe that's what they're trying to get off with. I don't know. It's Ubisoft themselves. They're just trying to be confusing.
Yeah. Speaking of map, I heard the map for Far Cry 5 is very, very large.
Yes, it's glorious.
Well, in relation to that, I did hear somebody else talk about the loading times on Far Cry 5, at least on a PS4 Pro, because that's what they're playing it on, are really, really long, like Skyrim long, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So that may have something to do with it. Hopefully they'll patch that, but I'm going to play it. I'm going to install it when it comes in on my OG PlayStation and then my Pro upstairs, so I'll be able to at some point compare and see which runs better on which. Well, now, Nick, I want to ask you what your first impressions of the game are, since you're the one that got it digitally, and I'm still waiting on my copy to come in the mail.
All right, guys. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Nick's first impressions! All right, so now it is Tuesday morning. We recorded the rest of the show on Monday night before the game came out. Now I'm going to be giving you my impressions. So it sounds like all of a sudden, where's Nick's energy? It's gone. It's dead. It's just...
I literally woke up I think 10 minutes ago.
Right. Like I woke up and did my morning poop, and then it's like, okay, we got to give our impressions.
Morning poop and then impressions. That's that in that order.
In that order, yeah. All right, so so far I did a little live stream last night, so you can get my gut wrenching reactions on the spot. But here's my talking impressions. So. I mean, I guess the best place to start off with is the story, because in the first 2 hours, you start to get to free roam a little bit, but not a lot. So the story is immediately gripping. I feel like they do a really good job of setting up Eden's Gate and setting up your, antagonist. And it's definitely in a way I was not expecting. You can watch the footage of what happens if you'd like to, or if you'd like to save it for yourself, or obviously if you've already played it because you're listening to this, you know exactly what I mean. I definitely didn't expect it to start off that way. Did
it start off better than the other previous Far Cry's, as far as 3 and 4?
Oh, no. I mean, it was pretty much just, hits the fan almost immediately,
Right.
So, but yeah, it was just like the way it started, I definitely didn't expect that, but it gave you a really, really good introduction to not only the world and, how these people took over, but also just the mindset of the people. And the mindset of the antagonist and everything. And so it was just a really good introduction. And then after, the shit hits the fan, then you're off running away, and you're trying to get yourself armed, and then you're trying to get the hell out of there, and things like just escalate. And they didn't feel too video gamey. They didn't feel, too forced necessarily. If anything, it felt like I was in a movie, like, get the fuck out of here, guys. Where the fuck is the van?
That sounds good. Would you say it was a better, faster kind of start than 4, at least? Because I feel like 4 kind of dragged.
Remind me of 4. So you get in
4.
You're in the bus, and then you get
pulled off
over.
the bus, and then Pagan Min kills that dude because he whatever. And then there's like I think 20 minutes where you're being led into that room, and you're not supposed to leave, and then you leave, and then you are making your way through the dungeon and stuff. And it was a really slow. I feel.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd say it's about the same, but as far as like time-wise, but I'd say as far as investment, I was definitely way more invested from the get-go, because like you basically start the game off like watching a video of what happened, almost in a way where it's kind of like the video from the short film or whatever, but not really. But it's something like that, because it's basically like that film got out, so you're there to go bring law and order, basically. And so you get right into it, basically. I'd say it's about the same amount of time as far as, talking, inciting incident, action. So I'd say it's about the same time as Far Cry 4, but I have to say that just from the second one, basically, I was way more engrossed in this story than I was in Far Cry 4. There's this cute little monkey and it's messing around with me. Oh no, we're being stopped by, this helicopter. Okay. Oh, he killed a guy. Okay, yeah, sure. Whereas this, it was way more about like building up the tension, building it up. It was a slow crawl, but it was like you were feeling every second, kind of like in Inglourious Bastards, at the very first scene where the one guy, they're speaking French, and eventually he's hiding Jews, and it's like eventually when is it going to happen? And so that kind of tension just building until finally like it starts coming to a head. Like it was creepy. It was just the right amount of like realism, and like I don't know, it was just way more engrossing than
that's a great comparison, because that scene is phenomenal.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's not a lot of action in it, but my God, how tense it is, and just it's not necessarily, what's happening, but what's being said and the intensity of what's being said. And I'd have to say that, that kind of how it feels, that those first moments, I mean, Pagan and even Voss, they were a lot more in your face as far as their villainy, whereas this guy, he's very reserved, and it's almost creepy how reserved he is.
Yeah, Voss really didn't get me until that typical, well, not typical, but that specific, do you know the definition of insanity scene? Because like that very first scene, I was like, God, this dude is just boisterous, and he's just kind of annoying. Like,
right.
He's, like you said, he's in my face. And you had Pagan Min, who was a little bit more elegant, like, Jay, come on, let's come to dinner. And it's like, okay, can I just get out of here so I can play the game? But it definitely sounds exciting. I just checked my shipping, and it's near me. It just hasn't come yet. So.
We're just waiting outside for like it to turn noon, and all right, here we go. But yeah, and then as far as the gameplay is very much kind of like the original 3, which I'm just in the first couple hours, so I mean it's hard to like pin it down and be like, oh well, I wish this would have happened, or I wish this, And it's definitely not a bad thing. It's definitely, it being familiar isn't necessarily a bad thing, because right now all I've really been able to do is, the first story beats, and then a little bit of world exploration. Like I liberated this tiny little island is basically one of the first things you do. And as far as that, I like it so far. I got my puppy. I got Boomer. I saw him on the map, and I'm like, well, that's the first thing I'm doing. Once I got into the open world, that was like the first thing I did pretty much. I went over and I freed him so I could have him. And
so what's your experience so far with gunplay?
Gunplay is definitely really tight. I hate to keep saying this, and it's not a negative, but it's very familiar. I'm nothing's popping out at me really that feels bad. Everything feels very good, very tight. Everything recoils the way it should be, which is pretty much like any other Far Cry game. One thing I will say, and this might be something nitpicky, but
put on Steven, that's your job. Put that in there.
But it might be a little nitpicky, but one thing that I did notice is like the crosshairs on the guns are really, really tiny. So aiming at first, maybe it's just because, I'm getting used to it. It's a brand new game and yada, yada, yada. But, the crosshairs are really tiny. And so like trying to get a headshot, I was like, I shot over him a couple times and I'm like, oh crap. And then finally got a headshot. And that like almost never happens with me. That's what she said.
Was that aimed down sight as well, or were you just hit firing with the?
Oh no, yeah,
crosshairs?
Aiming down the sights, the iron sights, like on the gun itself. It just seemed like really tiny. Like the first assault rifle you get, like the iron sights for them are just like really tiny. So. It's like you're not really using the iron sights, you're just using the top of the gun.
Have you noticed any of the ballistic stuff that they've added yet, or do you think that's something that you'll just notice when you go to actually try to mess with it?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I haven't noticed too much, but I also haven't been stuck in any long engagements because, like I don't even have a scope for any of my weapons yet, so... Yeah, I haven't really experienced that too much. What
all have you used so far?
Just like a handgun, MP5, and an assault rifle, and the bow gun, the bow and arrow.
So have they brought back the crossbow pistol from 4, or have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't seen that yet. I haven't.
I kind of hope they don't, honestly, because as much fun as it was, God, it made it so much easier.
Right.
It really did.
Especially if you're going, stealthy, yeah.
Yeah, now something, I was talking yesterday about how Greg and Andrea from Kind of Funny Games Daily, they were giving their impressions, and one of the things that Andrea said was that, I don't remember the context of the situation, but she was talking about how some of these enemies seems like they're a lot harder. And as far as like bow and arrow goes, she said sometimes that doesn't really work on them. So I don't know if she meant like it takes more than one to kill, like it has been it hasn't been in previous games, or have you noticed any of that?
Well, bow and arrow kills, I always get a headshot. Booyah! There's even one time where I got him in the hand and it killed him. Like I was like, really? You're a no, I haven't really noticed that. I've noticed with bullets though, it do seem like it maybe takes a little bit more than what I'm used to as far as like, firing off a couple rounds into their chest or something. It does seem maybe a little bit, and so that might be what she's getting at. And as far as, if I would have shot him in the leg with an arrow, I'm not sure. I heard he was a good adventurer until I shot him in the knee.
I really hope that there's some arrow-specific trophies because I loved that 1 in 3 where you had to shoot, I think it was like 60 meters, because it's just so satisfying. Just waiting for somebody to walk away and then just aiming up, popping it off, and hitting them right in the head. Oh, it's so great, so great. Have you noticed any different enemy types yet? Like, are there brutes like there have been?
No, I don't think I'm far enough into it to get that quite yet.
Okay. Let's see. Are there any negatives that you've faced so far? Like, is there anything like, well, I don't care for that very much?
Yeah, not so far. So far, nothing negative. Obviously, once again, it's just 2 hours as far as other than the iron sights, nothing really. I mean, one thing I definitely haven't talked about is just how freaking gorgeous this game is. Like, you can watch all the YouTube videos and everything. There's always a degradation of the graphics, and so that's always like, I feel like that's always one of the coolest things about playing a game for the first time, is that no matter how much you prep yourself, watching videos, and you always watch those videos at the highest quality, you know what I mean? And that's always like the funnest part. It's like, I knew going in that, like, all the videos I'm seeing, they're really gorgeous, but until I actually get my hands on it, I'm not going to know how gorgeous. And let me tell you, it's, oh my God, it's just so gorgeous. And part of that might be, day one patches and everything, but really, yeah, just really gorgeous, and just all the fauna and just how much of it there is and how realistic it looks. You can be in some grass, and the grass doesn't necessarily look like just these flat 2D things that they put, and yeah, just really, really, really gorgeous, which just
and this
helps
is on
you. Go ahead.
This is on a regular PlayStation, right?
I have a regular one, so I can't even imagine what it would look like on a PlayStation Pro. I mean,
yeah.
I'd really like to, because just how good it looks on a normal one. God, yeah.
That's definitely something I'm going to have to figure out, because, like I said earlier, I have my OG PlayStation that's sitting at my desk, and that's what I use for capturing and for... I'm more comfortable playing on a monitor. And then I have my Pro upstairs on my TV, on my 4K TV. And so I'm going to install it on both systems. But that's something I'm going to have to figure out, is if I'm going to want to play more on the Pro or more on my desk PlayStation. Which it'll probably be the desk, because that's what I did for Assassin's Creed. I put it on the TV, and I'm like, this game is way too big. I want to sit at my chair, and I just want to relax and get through it, and maybe put on a podcast. So that's probably how to do it. But I will definitely give you my impressions when my copy gets here, and to kind of compare between OG PlayStation and Pro, and see what the differences in there are. Well, you told me that you messed around a little bit with the map editor as well. So before we get started, me and you have become part of a Discord server, which we've actually become a part of plenty since we've started on this adventure. Like, if you look at my server list on Discord, it's crazy right now. But one of them is a Far Cry Arcade Discord. And they're very active. I actually had to turn notifications off except for mentions, because my phone was popping.
Yeah, me too.
But it's a very cool Discord. If you guys are interested in getting involved in the arcade, I definitely would recommend joining, and we'll give the information here in a little bit. But they've got all, like, their server management's really well. They have different roles. Like, if you play on PC, play on PlayStation, Xbox, they'll have that organized in that way. I've talked a little bit in there, but not, like I said, not a whole lot, but just because I'm not as active in it, because I haven't played it yet.
Right.
But yeah, do you have any more information than I?
Yeah, nothing too much more, other than I do believe they're going to be doing like competitions and stuff, which
Yeah,
we're going to try to do the same thing, but it does seem like they've been doing it longer than us.
I feel like me and you are going to be hey, we'll play what you got.
Right.
Hey, check out the map we made.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to be making some stuff myself, but I kind of said this in the first episode. I'm definitely not going to sit there and like meticularize every little detail and make it look like really cool, and but I am gonna mess around with it and do everything, which on that we are gonna have a tutorial series. The first one's gonna be up today. It's gonna be either up at the same time of this podcast or maybe a little bit later, but it should be up ASAP basically.
Yeah, on a tangent, I really have been wanting my brother-in-law to pick this game up because he just recently has been getting interested in messing with Unity and game design.
Oh, yeah.
And we got him a Steam card for his birthday for like $50. And I'm like, dude, buy Far Cry with it. Like, there's a map editor that's got like 5,000 assets from all different Ubisoft games. And he was like, what? Yeah. So I really
It's actually over 9,000.
But I actually really want him to get involved with it because I want to see because his brain, I tell you what, these kids nowadays, his brain is something else.
I'll tell you
what. He's jumped from doing like music stuff to like now he's welding and then like now he's like wanting to get into game design. I mean, I wish I had that drive.
Right.
I mean, I'm barely holding on right now. But yeah, look for that tutorial series. Like he said, it's coming up today, probably at the time of this upload. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what's your impressions on the map editor so far?
So far, I've messed around with it pretty much since 3. I believe Far Cry 2 did have it, but I never really messed around with it too much. I messed around with it on 3, and I messed around with it on 4. And so I really like it as far as it's pretty straightforward. One of the main things that you're going to want to do is just to get to know where things are. Once you know where things are and you kind of know the basics of how to do things, it's actually super simple as far as, getting something to do what you want it to do. Molding the terrain so that you make your own mountain, and there's definitely some things that they've added that I think are really good, like a backdrop. They never had a backdrop before, so now you can set it up so that there's like a mountain backdrop, instead of normally like your map would just end. And so, it'd be like, those flat earthers would be so proud because you could just, see the edge or whatever. So now you can set it up so that it's basically like a skybox, but all around you. And so that's really nice because that makes it a little bit more believable. And then from there, you can even set up the boundaries, so you can set up the boundaries before you hit the edge, and then maybe put up some trees so that you don't see the edge or something like that.
See, I honestly think the thing that excites me the most about Arcade and the map editor is this reminds me of a time like we had in Halo Reach and Halo 3 when people would mess around with Forge and make all these creations. Now, in comparison to that, how is it with placing and setting things? Is it really easy to just kind of click things together? Or because I remember for the longest time, Forge was always you can put all this stuff together, but there's not any mechanism to click it. It's just kind of it looks a little haggard here and there from time to time, unless you're really good at manually inch by inch by inch by inch.
Yeah, it's really intuitive as far as pretty much anytime you place something down, it's always going to snap to the floor, or right where your cursor is. But even wherever your cursor is, it's still going to snap to the floor. And then you can fine tune it so that if you want something to spawn into the air, you can do that as well. and then there's different settings for you to mess with it, because I know like there's one level where like there's all these floating clocks or whatever, and so you can do that, and it's pretty simple. But it's, as far as like if I just wanted to plop down a little map and then get going, it's relatively easy. As far as like here's a giant church, put that down, zoom my camera into the church and then put a couple of people in there. Super simple.
See, my brain's immediately going to making like a map like Shipment from Call of Duty 4.
Right.
Just because that's small, and that might be a cool thing. I also just had an idea that popped into my head when you said placed in the air, of doing like a Far Cry 5 enemy skeet shoot, where you start on the ground and like when the game starts, there's people just hanging in the air, and you just like with a bow and arrow or a shotgun just blah blah.
That would be funny.
But yeah, it's one of those that I feel like even in games like this, and like we talked about on a different podcast, the Portal Bridge Constructor game I got on the Switch, I feel like games like that always will end up being better on PC, just because you got your mouse and keyboard, just drop, click, click, drop, whereas on a controller it always seems to be a little bit less intuitive from time to time, but you feel like this is just really easy to do even on a controller.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. As far as looking around, it's basically just like a first-person camera, where the right analog controls where you're looking, the left analog controls where you're going, and then you can hold down R1 to go up and down. And so, but even then, like if I look straight down to the ground and push backwards, then I'm going like into the air. So obviously you're a little floaty as far as like where the camera is, but yeah, it's really I'd say the hardest thing is when you're getting like into a building. And then what you can do is you can click R3, and that makes you go faster or slower. So if you want to make like fine-tuned movements so that you can go like inside the door, okay, I want somebody here, and then there's a room over here. If you're going too fast, you could just like go through the wall, and then when you try to come back in, you go too far, and then you go through the wall again. So clicking that R3 and making the speed go down really helps.
Oh, well, that's definitely good to know. I don't know whenever I'll get hands-on with the editor, just because I'm probably just going to try to power through as much of the game proper as I can, but that's something I'm definitely going to look at.
Yeah, and part of the fun is going to be seeing other people's creations, because I'm definitely going to dabble, and I'm definitely going to have fun with it. But yeah, seeing somebody else who has that drive and has the insight knowledge is, I think, well, not inside knowledge necessarily, but just has like a clear vision. I think that's going to be one of the funnest parts about it.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been in any sort of editing kind of game, Little Big Planet, anything like that. I've been the type to, let me see what other people have created. Because I've never been able to be intuitive enough to make something that is really extensive, right, in that sense. But speaking of looking at other people's creations, you want to take that one away?
If I have to. Part of this segment will be to play your guys's levels and give it a little review and everything. So you can send us your creations, or if you know of one that's like really fun or difficult and you want to see if we could make it through it, then you go to threatx3productions.com and go to our Hope County tab, and you can give us the name of it and like maybe the creator, so that we can find it. You can also go to our Twitter at Hope County Radio, and you can do the same thing there. Either way, it'll get us the information we need as far as to find it and everything. And we'll also make sure to take video of it. So if you're listening to us, you won't be able to see it, but then you can go to YouTube later if you want, and you can see the footage of the game or the map that we're playing on.
The plan is, as of right now, to have arcade archives, and if we have one, a top 10 of the week, be posted as separate breakout videos to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can actually, instead of hearing us talk about this really cool map, you can see the gameplay of it. Also, I know a lot of people don't use Discord, but if you do, that Discord link to Hope County Radio server will be pinned on our Twitter as well. So you can come in and chit chat with us if you want. You can talk about all that stuff there. Really, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to get either your information or your map or whatever you want to say out, so we can see it and it can be played and things like that. Get the word out on some of the really cool content that you guys are creating.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. Eventually, I do want to start having like little competitions, and we can give out prizes and everything. I kind of want to see how the first couple go before we start talking about competitions. But yeah, send us in your stuff or send us in your suggestions. Let us know what you'd like us to pay. And for each show, we're only going to be able to choose our top 5 favorites, so we're not going to be able to get to them all, but we're going to try to get to as much as we can. And if you don't see it on here on the podcast, then there's a chance that you'll see it on our YouTube, because even on the weeks that we're not doing podcast, we can still do Arcade Archive.
Yeah, as of right now, I think we're still going to do this bi-weekly.
Yes.
But let us know, give us feedback. If you guys would like to hear this every week, we'll take that into consideration.
Definitely.
And so, I mean, we're always happy to talk and ramble about games as much as we can. So it's just, if you guys want to hear it, then we'll definitely look into that. Also, apart from us, if you guys are really serious about arcade, like we mentioned earlier, you can definitely join that Far Cry Arcade Discord. We'll have that somewhere, so it'll be clickable for you guys to go check out. But if you're really serious about arcade and you want to be with like-minded people, that definitely is the server for you to join. Mm-hmm. Because that just constant, like, I thought we were super excited last episode for Far Cry 5. Man, the hype for everybody else in that group has been insane. Also, I would like to point out, they probably have, apart from us, they have the best logo I've seen on a server.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really, really cool. So
it's no Hope County Radio, but it's pretty fine.
No, that is true. That is true. All right, well, thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Hope County Radio, a Far Cry podcast. Hopefully you guys are having a great time with the game right now. I hope you are. I'm still not. But by the time you're hearing this, I should be. Nick, is there anything you want to add for the kiddies out there?
Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm addicted to Far Cry.
We already have one person that's got their teeth hooked in. But yeah, by the time you guys will hear this, we'll both have our hands on the game. And if you want to talk with us more, you can always talk to us on Twitter or join our Discord. I guarantee we'll be talking about the game. Probably not spoilers, but if you're to that point, then we'll discuss things like that. So we definitely look forward to hearing from you guys. Also, don't forget to check out Threat X3 on YouTube. All kinds of content on there, not just the Hope County stuff. We've got Once in a Fortnight, which is Nick's Fortnite podcast. We've got some Deals of the Week videos that go up, just giving you some little hidden gems that you may not have heard of. They're fun videos. Everything we do on the channel is fun. But if you guys want to go ahead and check that out as well, that's Threat X3 on YouTube. Again, you can go to Hope County Radio on Twitter. You can go to threatx3productions.com. Go to Hope County on there as well. Everything is laid out for you guys, simple and easy. All right, that's it, folks. We'll see you in Hope County, where anything can and will happen.